Hey, welcome in, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Elvis Workshop. So the other day I was talking to somebody and they asked me the usual story when people find out I'm an Elvis fan is, how did you get into Elvis? Now, so it kind of sparked an idea of what I wanted to do for this video. I've picked up some pretty cool items lately, and so I wanted to share them here, but I did a video quite a while ago about compilations. If you scroll back through my older videos, you'll see the video, or maybe I'll link it down in the comments below. But in that video, I discussed a little bit of how I became an Elvis fan. So I kind of wanted to do a refresher on that because that story was kind of buried in that video. So I wanted to kind of make just a video about that story because I've got some cool stuff up here that kind of goes along with it, and I wanted to share that. But I just picked something up that's pretty cool, something I wanted for a long time, so I wanted to kind of wrap that around this story. So I just went recently to visit my mother, and she lives in Glasgow, Kentucky, and I flew into Nashville, spent a couple of days in that area, and when I came back here, I had some cool stuff waiting for me, but I was able to also visit with my aunt Claudia when I was there, and she's the reason for all of this right here. It may or may not have become what it is anyway, but she was the one that started it for me. So I wanted to kind of go over that a little bit and then show you what I picked up here. Pretty cool piece that's hiding right over here. So there's a picture of me that was taken the day that Elvis died, and it's right here. And I was in Williamston, Michigan. It was August 16th, 1977, of course. The news broke that Elvis had passed away, and my aunt, everybody was upset. I was 3.5 years old. My aunt brought her horse over to kind of cheer everybody up. She brought the horse over so that everybody could take a ride on the horse and just kind of try to get everybody's mind off of what had happened, the breaking news that Elvis had passed away. Now, being 3.5 years old, I didn't know what death was. But when I saw this guy on the TV, I thought, wow, that dude looks like Superman. To me, he was super cool. I thought, wow, look at the cape and the hair and the outfits and all that. And I thought, wow, what is this guy? Who is this guy? I had never heard of him before. And I have vivid memories of that day, even though I was only 3.5. And it doesn't really have a whole lot to do with Elvis. I just specifically remember that day. I was excited that the horse was there and that we got to ride it. And I remember what I was wearing and the insecurities I was having. My shoes got wet and I thought they smelled. And it's one of those days where it's kind of burned into your memory, and it happens to be August 16th, 1977. So anyway, fast forward many years, you'll remember a thing called the Columbia House, where you could order like 10 or 15 cassette tapes and pay a penny, and you get all of them for free with the penny, and then you sign a contract to buy a certain number of releases in the future for a much higher price than retail. So what a lot of people would do is get all the free ones for the penny and then never fulfill their obligation with the rest of the contract and buy all the overpriced other cassette tapes, which later turned into CDs, and then they went out of business because nobody ever paid for it. So my grandmother comes to me. I'm about 11 years old now. My grandmother comes to me and she hands me 2 cassette tapes, and she says, I was going to send these to your Aunt Claudia, but I'm going to give these to you instead. I thought you might enjoy them. And one of them, and I don't have the cassette tape now, it's just gone, but it's this over here. This record, that LP right there, is the number 1 hits, and it was that same cover art on cassette. And so when I put it in, of course, the first song was Heartbreak Hotel, and this was all new to me. These were new songs. I had never heard them before. Heartbreak Hotel, then I Want You, I Need You, I Love You, and I thought, well, Heartbreak Hotel sounded kind of cool, had the echo and all that stuff, the reverb. I Want You, I Need You, I Love You was kind of like bubblegum pop to me. It really didn't knock my socks off, and still to this day, it's just kind of whatever. But the next song is why I'm sitting here right now, and why you're watching me do this silly video. The master take of Hound Dog, Elvis Presley's master take of Hound Dog. Now, years later in concert, Elvis would kind of bum rush through the song. He didn't like doing it, but it was something that got the crowd excited, and he knew that, so he would do like a 1 minute and 20-second version of it and just repeat the same line over and over. So he really trashed the song, honestly. But his master recording of it was just absolutely brilliant. You've got DJ Fontana on the machine gun drumming, and the guitar, the bass, everything, the Jordanaires with the clapping and the singing, the backup, but Elvis was just on point. He was just on fire. And I had never heard this before. It was brand new to me. and it just knocked my socks off. And I thought, man, I have to know more about who is this guy. I have to know more about this guy. What is the story here? And of course, I didn't know anything about the Milton Berle appearance where he basically had his way with his microphone stand. I didn't know anything about the later with the Sullivan Show with them filming him from the waist up and all that. So I didn't know any of that, none of it. I just heard this song come out of these speakers and was just stunned by it. I couldn't believe how good it was. And so I wanted to know more. And so it turned into decades of collecting and getting to know people that knew Elvis and played with him, and I've established amazing friendships along the way with people that I just would not have otherwise known. So I became a mega collector, I guess you could say. I mean, I'm not the upper echelon of collectors, but I have a lot of stuff that has taken a long time to find. A lot of it's very rare. So two things. I wanted to show you a couple things, and then I want you in the comments. I want this to be a very interactive video. Tell me in the comments how you became an Elvis fan. I would love to know. I love that story of finding out how people became an Elvis fan. To me, it's fascinating to go from I don't know anything about this entertainer to where you are today. So I'd love for you to comment on the video and tell me how you became an Elvis fan. What inspired you to become an Elvis fan? Mine was my grandmother handing me these 2 cassette tapes and me just innocently popping it in, not knowing what to expect, but I popped it in and it just literally changed my life. And so what I have on the table, well, first of all, these Sun records have no relation at all. They were up here actually for another video, but I didn't want to take them all down. So I'll tell you about those. These are reprints, Sun 78s. I think they're from the 1970s. I've got the complete set of the 5 singles, nicely framed up. They're in excellent condition. They look fantastic. They're just on the table. They really have nothing to do with this video, but they're pretty cool. I've known about them before, but I had never seen them. I was able to get the opportunity to purchase them, so I did. You know what? I have a problem. I have a big problem. I have lots of problems, but I have a big problem. I have nowhere to hang these. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do with them. They're already professionally framed. They look fantastic. They're ready to slap right on the wall, and I have no room. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I'm thinking about the top of this wall, maybe moving some of this stuff down a little inch here, an inch there, because there is a little bit of room up there. I just don't know if there's enough room. I'm going to maybe try. That might be a project that I can work on today. Actually, I think it can work. If it does, I'll show it to you in another video. But anyway, what I want to show you is I have an EP. It's the EPA 940. It has, I think, 5 songs on it, 4 or 5 songs, but it has Heartbreak Hotel. Hound Dog and Don't Be Cruel on it. And what a single, right? I mean, back-to-back #1s, and they still hold up to this day. Amazing, amazing songs, and they were released as a single. Wow, what a blockbuster single! So I have an original 1956. Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel single. It's about ready to fall out of the bottom here. It's kind of torn up, but it's an original. This one is great, but this is one of my pride and joys. I have a lot of different vinyl. I have stuff that's super rare and stuff that's super common, But this is one of my favorite things right here. A friend of mine, Anthony Stoochberry, from England, won a bulk set of items in an auction, and this was in the auction, and he already had one, so he didn't necessarily need one. Of course, we all have multiple releases of the same thing, but I asked him if I could get this from him, so I picked it up from him. And it's a 1956 HMV, His Master's Voice, Hound Dog, Don't Be Cruel, in the original sleeve, with the purple label, with the gold writing on it, gold lettering. And this thing plays like a gem. It plays like it's brand new. Whoever owned this for all those years took extremely good care of it. It is in extremely good condition. This thing is sweet. So the colors, just pop right off the sleeve. They're beautiful. They don't photograph well. These HMV with the gold or the silver lettering with that dark purple on it, it's extremely hard to get a good photo of these. But man, you slap this thing on the record player and it jumps out at you and grabs you by the shirt and pulls you in. It is so good. So thank you, Tony, for this. And wow, it's a gem. It's a real great piece for my collection. So now, if any of you are looking hard at this table, you might go, well, what the hell is this doing up here? This doesn't have anything to do with it. So oddly, well, it's probably because of time constraints, and also the way that they did sales and marketing back then. The single was the big one. When all the kids ran to the record store, they were looking for 45s. An LP, or an EP even, were kind of, a lot of times, mostly LPs, were kind of leftovers. It was the songs that weren't released as singles, all cobbled together and put out as an LP because all the kids wanted the singles. So there is no Hound Dog or Don't Be Cruel on this album, but had the singles been released with the album, they would have been on this album. But that's still not why this is up here. So I've been collecting for years and years and years, and I do have some really cool items. Anybody that's ever come to visit the Elvis Workshop, they always love it because there's just so much to see. It's overwhelming when you walk in. It's sensory overload. When you walk in, you see everything. I have 10-foot ceilings in here, and it's covered from floor to ceiling, literally floor to ceiling on all four walls. And there's just so much going on. It's so busy that it's just pretty cool to see. If you ever get a chance to come to Las Vegas, hit me up. I'll show it to you. I love to show it to people and talk with them about it. It's not to show off, it's to share. I love to share the experience with people. I like to learn. I like to talk to them about what they may have that I can maybe acquire or trade or buy or something like that. It's always a lot of fun. So, the reason for that album up here is that with all this collecting for years and years and years, I've always had my eye on certain things that I could just never get a hold of. And one of them is about what I'm about to show you. So this album, along with these photos of Elvis performing on television and touring live in concert in the 1950s, you see a common running theme here is he had that Martin guitar with the leather case on it. And he used that for a couple of years. I think that it's in private hands in a private collection now, which is a real shame. It'd be nice for the fans to be able to enjoy it. In my personal opinion, it should be on display at the Graceland museums. I'm not, an advocate for Graceland. I'm not trying to pitch for them, but that's an archive that I do believe should be with the estate and should be on display for the fans to see. So it's sad that it's in private hands and not available to be seen. With that being said, I am not a musician. I don't have any musical abilities or talents at all, but I do have a lot of musician friends. And when they come to visit, a lot of times a jam session will break out. I've got a keyboard here. I've got several guitars, a bass. I don't have a drum. I know a drummer. I know a couple drummers, but I don't have a drum set, and I don't need one. But I do have several guitars. So Elvis had that Martin guitar with that leather case. And about 15 years ago or so, I saw on the internet a company that made replicas of those leather cases. Well, I emailed them and said, hey, I'm interested in one of them. They made several different varieties, different artists, but they made one like the one that's on the cover of this album here. And I emailed them and asked them, how much is it? How quick can I get it? What's the availability? They're all handmade. Great. I love it. They never even emailed me back. I tried to call them. I could not get a hold of them. They never bothered to email me back. Years and years went by. Nothing. And so I've never even seen one in person. At the Sun Studio Tour, Sun Records in Memphis, they do have one on display in their museum. It's a little different than the one Elvis had on that guitar, but it's very similar. It's the same style, but it looks a little bit different. That's as close as I've been to even seeing one, is just that one that's at Sun Studios. It's a little different. And never seen one in person, ever. But there's a record store here in Las Vegas called Moondog Records, and the guy in there knows I'm an Elvis collector, and he was able to pick up a collection from somebody that worked with the Virgin record label, and picked up a ton of stuff, all kinds of cool stuff, luggage tags that had the Virgin record label on it, all kinds of cool stuff. But he knows that I'm an Elvis collector. I bought some nice items from him in the past, some Sun 78s and 45s and this and that and the other, and a bunch of stuff. So I see him at the store a few months ago with my friend Warren. We were there shopping together, and the guy brings out this box, and it has Martin tape all around it. The box is taped up with Martin and Company tape all around it. Opens it up, and inside is the leather case. I've never seen one. It's identical to Elvis's. And I thought, wow, that's beautiful. And I asked him how much it was, and it was not cheap. Anyway, I passed on it. It's pretty expensive. I wasn't really in the market for it right then. It's kind of stunned me, to be honest with you. I didn't want to make a rash decision and jump and just purchase it. And then, anyway, so I left, and months went by. And a few weeks ago, my cousin was here visiting, and I told him, let's go out, run around, let's go, or I asked him if he wanted to run out and go around and look at some stuff. So we end up back at Moondogs. And, but I called ahead of time because I wanted to see that case again. So I have a Martin guitar. It's just here for when friends come over to play. I do goof around with it, knock it around a little bit, but I just have no talent, no rhythm, no skills at all, but I knock around on it a little bit. So I took the Martin guitar with me. I wanted to see what it looked like with this sleeve on it. And so the guy had it. I called ahead of time. He still had it. It was in his store in the back. He brought it out. And I said, listen, I'm interested in it, but I want to see it on the guitar to A, make sure it fits, and B, just to see how it looks. And he said, okay. And he said, I remember the price I gave you. So he still remembered. And I said, yeah, I remember too. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to make the video about today, is I wanted to ask you how you became an Elvis fan, and then tell you my story, and again, for the second time on my channel. And I wanted to show you my latest acquisition. So hang on one second. Would you look at that? Isn't that beautiful? Look at that thing. That is a Martin guitar. It is not the D28. I'm not a millionaire. But it is a Martin guitar. And on the back, it is stamped. I'll show you a closer picture with the Martin logo. And look at that. So I've had this Martin guitar for several years, and it just kind of hangs out in the case. But man, with this leather case on it, it just absolutely pops. It is so beautiful to see in person. I'll put it back down before I break it. That thing looks awesome. I sometimes I'll buy something and have a little bit of buyer's remorse later and think, why did I buy that? I paid too much for it, or I paid a lot for it and I don't need it. And I kind of have a little bit of buyer's remorse, thinking, that was just stupid. I have zero willpower. Why did you buy that? I have none of that with this. I am so thrilled. I've had that Martin, like I said, for a long time, and it just sits in the case. And it's like having a whole new guitar now with this leather case on it. It is just beautiful. My cousin was here. He doesn't know anything about music, doesn't care about that. But when he saw it, he said, wow, it's stunning. It really is stunning to see in person. So with that being said, like 2 weeks later, I ended up picking up another guitar. This is another one I've had my eye on too. So while I have you, I'm going to show you the other one too. This is pretty cool. Hang on one second. And again, I don't play guitar. I have no skills or abilities, but I love to collect. Look at that Hagstrom. This, of course, is a replica of the guitar that Elvis used during the 68 special. It was borrowed. It was not his guitar, but he borrowed it to play in the special. Now, I want to tell you something. For those that don't know, the reason this guitar strap is on here like it is because it is a replica of the one that Elvis used during the special. And there's actually something else that's actually pretty interesting about this guitar strap. If you don't know, I'm going to tell you right now. One is Carl Perkins used the same style guitar strap. I'll show you a picture of him wearing it. But another thing that's super, super cool, at Woodstock, when Jimi Hendrix did the Star Spangled Banner with the white guitar that he had, he has the same guitar strap, same style guitar strap. So Elvis wore it, Carl Perkins wore it, and Jimi Hendrix wore it. I'm sure others did too. You could probably find pictures of Johnny Cash or something like that out there, but very cool piece. Hang on a second. So again, I don't play guitar, but I have a lot of friends that do. And if you do, and you come over here, you're more than welcome to play those. We have us a nice little jam session. I always, things like that always break out at my house. So anyway, one last thing, and then we're going to get out of here. You guys know that I end my stupid videos, my little silly videos here with this little hound dog. Right here is my little guy. So I want to tell you about this little hound dog. So in the mid-1970s, I believe 1973 in Las Vegas, just for a very brief amount of time, Elvis would take these during the show and throw about 10 or 12 of them out into the audience. It only lasted for a little while. It wasn't a big thing for a long period of time, but they did sell them at the merch table, so there are quite a few of these, and most of them have the tag on the ear, and they're different shapes, different sizes. But this one, Dick Grove, who was a very, very close friend of mine for 2 decades, I miss him every single day. His son was a little kid around that time, and Elvis knew him. He was a little child, but knew, Dick worked for him and Dick knew his son. And Elvis gave this hound dog to Dick's son in 1973, I believe was the year, 1973. Anyway, and he's had it all these years. Well, when Dick passed away, I made an offer on this and picked this up from his family. And so it actually means a lot to me. But so I wanted to tell you about it because of the theme of the video is the song Hound Dog and what started all this crap for me. So when I first got this, I made a video and I ended it and said, if you don't like this video, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. It's just kind of like a goofy thing, like a silly little ending thing. And then the next video, I didn't do it. I wasn't trying to have a brand or start any silly thing, and it's kind of silly, to be honest with you. But I got complaints. I got people emailing me, hey, why didn't you do your ending with the hound dog? We loved it. And I was like, oh my gosh, now I've got this thing that I have to do all the time. And people really seem to enjoy it. It's silly. But anyway, so that's the story with the hound dog, is that Elvis gave this hound dog to Dick Grove's son. And it's a part of my collection now. And people love it at the end of the video when I say, if you don't like this video, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. So while we're doing the origin of my Elvis fandom and talking about the song Hound Dog, I hope you've enjoyed this video. So please, in the comments, let me know how you became an Elvis fan. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear your story. Let me hear it. And if you don't like this video, you know what's up, right? You ain't nothing but a hound dog. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.